Hi, I'm David with the Convention Junkies, and I'm here at the incomparable William Forsythe. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule to talk to me.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure.
First off, I want to say you're in a lot of things I really like. One of them is Boardwalk Empire. Beautiful long-form programming. It's so good, I can't even fathom how good it is. And you were like at the top of your game in that. Like you were so convincing as a character. I thought they time traveled to get you from the 20s. How do you encompass a character like that so completely that you even forget that this is a TV show? You feel like you're viewing a portal into like history. How do you do that?
Well, Boardwalk Empire particularly, it seems as if I had done that work prior to doing the show. I grew up in Brooklyn, and back in the old days, I used to go down to an area called Ocean Parkway, and I used to talk to all the old timers. And I used to listen to him talking. I used to listen to him talking in Yiddish. Yeah. And it was something, things like that always interested me. So I had spent time down there already, and had already developed that dialect. Well, more than a dialect, it's part of who a person
Mannerisms, everything.
So I had already kind of done that work. The hard part was when they asked me to do it. I showed up, and they told me they weren't sure whether they wanted to play that character Old Country. Yeah. And I went, oh, no. You have to. That's part of who he is. That's part of that one generation that came over. And so, honestly, what ended up happening was we made a deal. If you like it, we'll go with that. Otherwise, I was going to switch off and do some generic version. Yeah. Thank God we shot the first scene. And they went, they did like it, and I ended up being able to bring that kind of a character, to the TV. And I loved it. It was phenomenal. I loved that character. They wrote for me. They did a really great job writing for me, and we were able to, really accomplish something. I loved the show. I loved the commitment of the show. I loved how hard everyone worked, including even the extras. People like that came and delivered everything on that show. And I loved it. I really, I loved it.
I can't say nucky any other way now. Like, this is the way you say nucky. Yeah. It's like a... Yeah. Well, and speaking of shows I love, this is going to be like a love fest because you're in Man in the High Castle. And I read about that years before it came out, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like a nerdgasm for people who are into sci-fi, alternate reality stuff. This is it. Yeah. And again, you encompass J. Edgar Hoover like so completely.
Well, it had to be J. Edgar Hoover,
but
it had to be J. Edgar Hoover in the Reich. Yeah. And it's funny because I think Harry Truman once said that J. Edgar Hoover runs the FBI like the Gestapo. And so, oddly enough, I found him to be a character that could easily adapt to, to drumming and coming and everything else that went along with the Reich. And so it was an interesting portrayal. I even told the producers, I said, if it's okay with you, I said, I think that, we're in a business where there is no good retirement for these guys. I said, so a guy like Hoover, he's going to put his best out there, right down to dyeing his hair, pitch, and, you want to be flawless because you don't want to be replaceable. And another show that their commitment to doing a great job is through the roof. Obviously, it's phenomenal. It's very similar to Boardwalk Empire that way because their commitment to capturing a time or an era, and in this case, a fantasy, an alternate, is really phenomenal. I also really love doing Man in the High Castle and all the actors. And the people who are involved in it creatively, just so strong.
And it's incredibly timely. I'm going to tell you this, and I hesitate to even say this. The trailer for season 2? Yeah. The one that uses U2 music? That actually made me cry. Because you know why? This happened really close to Nazis are good people bullshit, and lots of like, why is this even a thing now? What's going on in the world? Why is there a resurgence? And then that thing comes out and turns the Nazi flag into like a peace sign. And it was so emotional, and the melting of the Liberty Bell and the destruction of, and honestly, it's so goddamn emotional.
Well, that's the propaganda. And using the propaganda machine that was the Reich, the Joe Goebbels approach, and being able to take things and make it seem so heartwarming and everything else. Imagine the alternate reality is so frightening, because now they could sit here, come to America and come to this side of the world and tear down all of the institutions for the sake of their right. I mean, that's what makes it so scary.
And
I mean, to me, it's a frightening, idea. I mean, the whole concept of that team winning that war and what would have happened thereafter, it's completely frightening.
And the tagline of the show, the trailer was "Fight for the world you want or you believe in," or something to that effect. I mean, it's reminding the audience, not so subtly, that it can't happen exactly that way, but things can creep up and become. It
absolutely can, and that's something I think people are starting to forget, is that quite often evil masks itself as something else, and everybody should really learn to talk more to each other, to get along with each other, to communicate to each other, and to listen to each other. That we're now getting to a point where people are not.
Yeah.
And that's when times become most dangerous.
This is a heavy conversation, and I said I'd keep it light. Listen, I'm going to wrap up with just one or two things,
Sure.
quick things. Now, I don't know, you must get a lot of fans that go nuts for you because they've seen you in so many great shows. They're like, do you have a, I'm trying to be light here now after talking about the Third Reich.
It's a reality.
Yeah. What's the craziest fan interaction you've ever had, or are you allowed to even say
the
craziest fan interaction? Somebody
I don't know if I could. The craziest one I probably wouldn't talk about. On occasion, look, 99.99% of fans walk up, and what I love about one of the reasons I do these events is fans astound me. Mm-hmm. They walk up with knowledge about film. They walk up knowing what they're talking about, and to be honest, sometimes they get the very simplest, most subtle things that I was doing that I think sometimes people in the industry did not see.
Yeah.
So it's so important to me, that fan interaction, and most occasions that's exactly what it is. On occasion you do get a free bird or two. You get something that is unusual walk up and happen, and we deal with that on an individual basis.
That's what the courts are for.
But I personally, my experience with fans is, they really impress me. I love when somebody walks up and knows all about movies and knows about the smallest little choices that you made and other people made, because that really tells me they're looking and it means something to them. And they can also blow you away by the things that they say to you. Like, I'm an actor. I do my best to do a great job, but you really don't think too much about how you may affect somebody's life. And it really blows me away when people walk over and they say things to me that I made an effect on their life, their family, and things like that. So it really is, it's special.
Well, I guess I'll finish up with what's next for you. I mean, I looked at your IMDb, and you've got just tons of stuff.
I keep rolling.
You're a hardworking son of a bitch.
I keep rolling like Old Man River, but I've been keeping busy. I have right now 4 films in the can. Just came out with Cold Pursuit with Liam Neeson. I'm also obviously coming out with Man in the High Castle. This season's coming out, and I've also a character that I created on Hawaii Five-0, a private detective that was formerly a 5-0. They've now brought him into Magnum PI, and there's a possibility I'm going to end up slipping into both shows and bringing. And I love the character very much, and so so I'm definitely keeping busy, and I have a few things. People are threatening to hire me every day.
Oh my God! Well, listen, it was I was so enamored with you that I had a follow up. I didn't even know what it is. I'm one of those fans that just sits here like, wow,
bless your
listen
heart,
to you
brother.
talk all day, buddy.
Bless your heart, brother.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.